Dinah Stevenson. I'm editor-at-large at Clarion Books, and I am Russell's editor. Both Russell and I are sorry that he was not able to be here in person. It's an advantage for me because I get to talk about him. Here are the remarks that he prepared for me to deliver on his behalf. While the young heroes of my book were risking their lives, secretly circulating anti-Nazi leaflets, I was a Jewish boy growing up in the cozy security of my San Francisco home. Years later, I became aware that if fate had placed me in Germany during those war years, I would most likely have perished in a death camp. As a writer, I wanted to add my voice to the massive body of work on the Holocaust without simply repeating what was already in print. I was searching for a story that would convey a redeeming theme of hope and human decency amidst the ruins of history. The White Rose student activists who inspired my book offer a model of behavior that all can admire, but few can emulate. They show us what is possible in human affairs, not what is expected. A 16-year-old visitor to the White Rose Museum wrote, quote, "Their example makes me wonder whether people in our generation now would stand up for something they feel is right." End quote. As long as some young people are committed to their ideals and willing to stand up for them, there is hope for positive change. I have been invited to speak briefly from my perspective as Russell's editor. I'll begin by saying you probably know that Russell Friedman has written a lot of books and received a long list of honors and awards. Since I began working with him, his books have been honored with the Seibert Nonfiction Medal, a Seibert Honor, a National Humanities Medal, the Laura Ingalls Wilder Award, and a place on the short list for the prestigious Kirkus Prize, not to mention the wonderful honor we're celebrating today. If you ask him his advice on achieving such spectacular results, he replies, quote, "Apply the seat of the pants to the chair every morning." When Russell was asked whether the subject matter of his books might be too tough for young people, he had this to say, quote, "When I published my first books in the early 1960s, children were still being shielded from the real world to a far greater extent than they are today. Today, we have the freedom and the responsibility to write about a great deal more. We can recognize life's complexities and ambiguities. We can encourage children to ask questions," end quote. For the writer who, quote, "wants to encourage children's idealism and shield them from cynicism, and yet still give them forthright history," end quote, navigating difficult subjects presents a significant challenge. Forthright history, accurate history, requires that the complexity and ambiguity of events and issues be confronted, examined, and clarified. Russell is confident that young people can understand complex subjects and that their curiosity leads them to look for answers and explanations. Some answers and explanations may make some people uncomfortable. As I see it, sometimes the significance of the factual material can be made clear only by including the upsetting parts. In Russell Friedman's work, tough information is neither sensationalized nor exploited for shock value. It's included in the service of the story and of the truth. Personally, I believe that a responsible author respects the historical record and respects the young reader's intellectual development. Also, that clarifying history for readers of any age is a powerful antidote to misinformation. Sad to say, at least from my perspective, denying history has become increasingly prevalent, gaining currency if it's done often enough and loudly enough. So I leave you with the question that we'll all answer in our own way. Is it better for our next generation to be faced with potentially upsetting aspects of history, or for them to grow up not knowing that these things ever happened? I want to thank Heather and the members of her committee for inviting me to represent Russell Friedman at this ceremony and for their excellent taste in books. Thank you.